Welcome back to the Man Cave for episode 70 of the ManTFup podcast. I'm Kimmy V.
And Lenny.
70 episodes with this guy. That's crazy pants. But before we go any further, please like, subscribe, share, and follow. Drop your comments as they come to you throughout the podcast or while you're watching the clips on social media. And as Lenny likes to point out, if you come across a clip and it doesn't make sense or it makes you irate or you just
Don't
want to agree to disagree, feel free to leave your comments and make sure you watch the whole episode, right? Clips are just clips. They're exactly what their title says they are.
Yes.
Just a clip, a snippet, a quick little peek. All right, now with that being said, episode 70 is going to be interesting. I'm going to preface it by saying I am not fully informed on what this particular bill entails in its entirety, but I heard an ad either on my radio station or on the television at some point, and they were like, hey, do you like your credit card points? You know, do you use them for travel? Do you use them for discounts? Do you use them for deals? Do you use them to pay for... Well, they want to take them away, and I was like, skirt! I was like, hold up, excuse me, say what? Excuse me, say what? And then I did a little research, and apparently there's a bill that is on the floor in Washington. It's called the Credit Card Competition Act. And it's aimed at, I guess, giving a little parity to the credit card industry as far as like transaction fees go and things like that. I don't know who that stands to benefit, if it's the retailers who obviously pay a fee in order to be able to use credit cards, which is a convenience to their consumer, their patrons. I know certain credit cards charge a higher transaction fee, American Express being one of those, which is why some places don't take American Express.
Yeah, it's come down. It's leveled out somewhat on the fee schedules, but yeah, there's a lot of mediators in the middle of it. You know, you're not contracting direct with American Express. Most of the, it's like Stripe takes all the cards. So Stripe's the middleman, and they take X amount per fee, and it's the same thing like with the Square.
Okay, I was gonna say because that's expanding the game because now you've got pretty much every Tom, Dick, Harry, Jane.
Square takes
Sharon.
part of the fee, and then they negotiate credit card fees with the companies.
Got you.
So yeah, it's a whole big. Everybody's eating off of it.
Okay, everybody's eating off of the transaction fees, and as consumers, this is one little silver lining to us spending our friggin' money, right? Is that we collect our points. If you use, American Advantage, you go on there, you pick your favorite retailers. Sometimes they give you 9 points on the dollar, like whatever. You can use it for an upgrade on a plane ticket. You can use it towards your hotel. American Express has forever been known for their great kind of membership rewards points. And now there's entire TikTok and Instagram accounts that are dedicated to teaching people the best cards to get, or to use for certain purchases in order to get the most points. And basically your credit card points pay for your lifestyle, your travel in particular.
And they're even doing it in business with the cash back. You get 1.5% on fuel and this and that. And, it's their incentive. I mean, the credit card companies are still making ridiculous amounts of money. Yeah. Even giving all that back.
Yeah. It amazes me that in 2023, with everything going on in the world and in our country in particular, that this is something that is on the legislative agenda, right? Snatching consumers' points away from them. And that I don't know how many people have heard about this. Again, it happened to have an ad running, and they were like, call your local, call your Congress people, tell them to vote no for this if you like your credit card points. But again, it's like we're so consumed and so distracted with other things. Like, this is something very real that will impact a lot of people. Like, again, it's one of those things that justifies you swiping your credit card, or that we use to justify swiping our credit card. Like, it's one of the reasons why, I love American Express, because obviously when you have it as an actual, oh my goodness, not a credit card. What are they? Charge card. Yeah, but there's a difference between a charge card and a credit
American
card.
Express is not a credit card.
You pay your bill off at the end of the month. Like, you're expected to. You have
They don't make interest on the money that you borrow. They only make their VIG on
The transaction on the fees. Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, they obviously have revolving credit accounts now too. Like they've expanded what they offer. But when American Express first came out, it was a charge card. You paid it in full at the end of every month.
Spent 30 grand, paid
You paid 30 grand. Boy, that thing swipes real easy. That bill
really
comes
easy.
in and you're like,
Oh, fuck.
Woo! Woo! My God. Okay. But again, their point system is fantastic. I'm going to Seattle in November and hotel taken care of. You know what I mean? Again, I spent a lot of money to pay for my hotel room. But it blew my mind because I was like, there's so many facets to this conversation. Again, what is going on in Washington really? You know, that we're not hearing about, that we're not privy to, that, again, could impact our daily life. We talk about it a lot on this podcast, how, you know, so many people overlook local elections, the elections that really have to do with your everyday life. And then, you know, we focus on Washington, but again, we focus on Washington for things like, oh, the government shutdown and, you know, what's going on in Ukraine. But again, they're making decisions up there, too, that have a very real impact on your day to day. Yeah. Whether you're and that's whether you're a retailer.
They're making a lot
or
of decisions
consumer.
that have to do with our day to day that no one ever hears about. Also, you're lucky if you get to argue it a little bit.
Well, and that's what I'm saying is that, you know, we don't really get the full rundown as to what's going on during any particular legislative session, right? You might watch it on C-SPAN, but at that point, it's already happening.
Yeah.
Like they're out here voting, and you're like, wait a minute, I didn't even. What just happened, right? So we have these voices, but of course, the best way to mute the crowd is
throw them a bone,
or to wait.
We're taking your points,
or to not tell them, like not keep them informed as to what's happening,
or give them something to argue about while you're doing something else.
Yeah, and I also feel like the other thing that they're notorious for doing is sliding them in with. Sorry, I'm putting my shoes on your couch.
Okay.
I've done that he's like, you've been doing that for 70 episodes. Like, you're going to apologize now. Is the fact that they usually try to slide it into other things, right? So apparently the Credit Card Competition Act was initially carved into the National Defense Authorization Act. What? What?
Gotta put it somewhere.
Do you know, like, that did not happen. Thank God. Like, okay, we're just going to sandwich the Credit Card Competition Act. I've been here with national defense. Like, most of us, most of us support national defense.
That's how they get this crazy
I
shit
know. So again, it is expected to be voted on this year, and we're getting information that different credit card companies are set to raise their transaction fees for online purchases because obviously, you know, the marketplace has changed. And it feels very, you know what it feels very similar to? It feels very similar to what we just saw happen in Hollywood, right? With the studios and their bargaining agreement coming up and the writers going on strike because obviously they were kind of taking advantage of this uncharted territory that had been streaming for forever, right? There was that wasn't really written into the collective bargaining agreement they already had. So they had to go back to the table and figure it out. And thank God they have resumed work at this point. They came to some sort of resolution there. The American Auto Workers Union also striking. UPS, the marketplace is changing, you know? And so now it's, I guess, the credit card company's time to get involved because, you know, you pointed out the Square, and I was just thinking, like, this is wild. Like, there's so many more opportunities to use your credit card. Like, I do stuff.
And they're pushing for that. Nobody wants you using cash anymore. They're trying to eliminate cash.
Who is, though?
The government. They want to eliminate cash.
Why?
Because you can't track cash.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so have they always done that? I don't want to say always. I mean, I know credit cards really became more prominent in the 80s.
They discouraged it as much as they are now. They literally don't want any more cash out there.
Got you. And see, it's funny because not that I'm a big cash person, but after being around men like Lenny and Laz and just other individuals that I know that always had, and I'm not trying to put your business out there, but always had some sort of cash on them, just in an emergency. I remember I was in college and I had a roommate and her boyfriend got super mad. We had gone to Boston for like one of our long weekends or whatever. She flew home with me and we were flying on like non-rev passes. And we got stuck at an airport somewhere. We got bumped and she didn't have any cash and she's having this conversation. And he's like, what the fuck do you mean you don't have any cash on you? He was like, you should always have somewhere between 250 and 500, no matter what. You should always have an emergency. You get a flat tire. You need a hotel room.
Especially if you're traveling.
You know, he was like, you should always have something. And
Yes.
and it was funny because she was just like holding the phone away. Like we're both listening to him just rant. But that's always been in my mind ever since, you know. And then I had dated somebody one time who always had like $100 bill in the car just for a fill up.
Concert you went to a couple of weeks ago at Bayside?
Yeah.
My daughter went, and I told her, I said, I don't care how much it costs, park at the closest, best parking you can park. It was 3 girls going to there, and they're all young.
Yeah.
Cost them $50. It's funny, though, because she's like, yeah, we were out in like 5 minutes. We were gone.
Yeah, you heard me talking
Yes,
about
I heard you talking
like,
about it.
but I would have taken
But
it anyway, yeah.
She
but-
keeps cash on her for that.
Yep.
Because you're not swiping your card at the $50
No.
park right
First
here
of all,
in front.
He's probably not even legit. He's the homeless dude that's just going to keep an eye on your vehicle and make sure it doesn't get towed from wherever he just lets you park. But I'm here for it. I get it.
Yeah, so-
No, but to me, it's smart, and I still feel that way. And I actually take issue when I'm out with a man
And he doesn't have cash.
and he doesn't have cash.
Yeah.
And I don't mean, and I don't need a knot. I don't need a wad. It's just, to me, after hearing, you know, the argument behind why you should, it made so much sense to me. Like, if you've ever had your car towed on South Beach, Tremont Towing, I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
If it's when you're getting out of a club, guess what they don't take, everybody? Checks, credit cards, any of it. It is cash only when you get to that window at 3:30 in the morning. You know how many people are then calling Ubers, and thank God you have Ubers, or having a friend that just dropped them off, trying to find an ATM that's open so that they can bring them the 150 to whatever it is now, cash. Like, it's crazy. So again, you just never know when you're going to need it. And that's disheartening that they would, you know, be getting away from it, because I do feel like cash will always be king. Again, when you're in a recession, or, you know, if you talk to people, gold bars, you know, gold jewelry, whether you're, you know, I know that's big in the Indian community and culture. You know, that's what you gift people that are getting married. You gift them that every year on their birthday. You know, it's either a gold coin or a gold bracelet or any of those things. That's kind of still along the lines of, like, you know, a dowry, but it's because it's always going to hold its value.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And they're taking the point thing. It's just, it's ridiculous. And they're you know, one of the points you brought up about it was that the retailers are passing it on to the consumers, so therefore the consumers are paying more because of the credit cards. Well, yeah. Why don't you tell the credit cards they can only make 11%? Why don't you tell the credit cards they can't, you know, charge 24%?
You're talking about the interest.
Yeah. Why don't you put a cap on what the credit card company could charge? If you're worried about you can't be worried about the consumer paying more at the register, 3% more at the register. That's just factored into the bill.
Yeah.
And then not care that they're paying 24.99% interest, which is the 1/10 of a point below the maximum.
Yeah.
And you know, it just doesn't make a good argument.
But you know what's crazy, though? Not only do we not know that this, again, legislation is on the floor, but so many Americans have no idea what you just talked about even means. Like, so many Americans, if you ask them right now what their highest credit card rate is, they probably couldn't even tell you. They probably couldn't even tell you what they're being charged in interest on their credit cards.
Read the 27 pages of fine print that are on.
My mom is wild. Like, my mother, and I don't know what, but she'll be like, these moms want to. They tried to raise it to 29, or when you miss a payment, like, there's a reason why you never want to miss a payment.
Yeah.
And it's because a lot of times in that fine print, like it says, your rate goes from being, if you got locked in, or they gave you an introductory rate of, say, 14%, say you were lucky at that. You miss one payment, you're now up to whatever like you said, whatever it is plus XYZ.
My favorite is the 0%, because the 0% works. Like, we're going to give you 0% for 12 months. So you're like, damn, I'm not paying anything for this. If you can put $100,000 on it, if you have $1 left after that 12 months, out of that,
accrued interest,
they charge you the interest for all the money for the whole year.
Yep. Well, that's even like when you shop at places like Best Buy, or even at Amazon.com, and they give you those options, right? 6-month payment plan, blah blah blah. They give you the 6 months to pay it off in full. If you're not paying attention to your bill, if you have other things on your bill and you think, oh, you're paying them, you're paying your minimum, and you haven't specified that you want all of your payment to go towards that one item that you bought that you gave yourself 6 months on.
It's a game.
Again, you end up getting hit with the accrued interest across the board. And so it's like, but this goes back to the conversations that we've had time and time again.
I like my Best Buy points.
Oh,
Nestor was pretty impressed with my Best Buy points.
Do you have a lot?
I usually have a couple $100 every time we go because, we buy expensive things. So, they give you 5% back that you can spend in the store. That's a lot of money. It adds up,
No, it is. So here's the thing. If you know how to game the system the way they're trying to game you, you really can come up.
Yeah.
But of course, we're not necessarily educating the everyday consumer.
People game the system.
What?
In order to game the system, you have to have the ability to pay for what you're buying on credit.
For sure.
That's the only way you can game the system.
But also, even just understanding how it works, understanding the basics, like if you miss a payment, that interest rate jumps up to 29%. And have fun trying to get it back down, even after you've made 10 years worth of on-time payments.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, the system is rigged against the consumer in so many ways. And yet,
But that's what makes me laugh, that they're using the consumers paying an extra 3% for their tacos as grounds to pass this.
Yeah. Okay. That the government is using.
Yeah. They're using the consumer paying an extra 3%. They don't give two fucks about the consumer.
Yeah. But I think that you would probably like this as a merchant, because I know you do online business, and that basically they're saying that every merchant should be given the choice of 2 different networks to process credit card transactions, so you don't just have one. I don't know if there's.
I've never been forced to use one specific.
Oh, okay, because it says currently
there's 50 available.
Credit cards bearing a Visa logo are only processed through Visa network, while transactions on cards backed by MasterCard are only routed through MasterCard's network.
Yeah, well, that's but that's at the card level. Nobody really in retail. Nobody really goes right to the card anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have 12 different contracts with 12 different credit card companies. You have one contract with a processor, and the processor has the contracts with Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express, PayPal, all the whatever else is out there.
Got you.
There's a million of them.
Yeah.
So
Jesus.
Yeah.
There's 576 million active credit cards right now.
Have fun with
I've got at least 1 million of them. I'm just kidding. I don't have 1 million of them. But no, I say that because I started getting credit cards when I was in college, right? Like, and that's, I think, the other scary part about it is that when we talk about this system, you're getting people hooked on it at a very vulnerable age.
Mm-hmm.
And because we're not educating them on financial literacy leading up to that point, like you said, I can spend $1,000 with 0%, whatever. And they don't understand the long-term implications, especially since everything now is based on your credit score.
Mm-hmm.
So like, it's such a bigger picture than even debt or, interest rates. It's that now this can impact you getting a job, getting a house. Like there are so many companies.
Don't get me wrong. Every small business owner if they're smart, has used credit cards to their advantage. Because you get a credit card for $20,000 at 0% interest, you get it. 11 months later, you apply for another one on 0% interest, you roll it over. So there's a lot of ways to game that system to get your advantage, but that's really very few people do that. What people do is they go and I don't have the money, I'll just use this. I don't have the money, and I'll just use this. It's the same as the early paycheck. Go get your money before your paycheck comes. You get buried. They get buried. You never get out of credit card.
And they're predatory. They're predatory.
Never get out of credit card.
Or the ones that you see at like 11 o'clock at night, the ads on television.
Yeah.
From like the rando, $10,000. And then when you see it, literally you end up paying back 500%. That $10,000 loan really cost you $50,000.
Yeah.
And again, you miss one payment, and the next thing you know, it's just
You're
out of
buried.
control.
They bury you.
So I think that there definitely should be legislation in place to protect consumers from things like that. But that's not what they're trying to do.
No.
Like, once again, the everyday American is sitting here being used as a pawn in big business's game, and we're the ones that really stand to lose. And we're already again, we've had the conversation on this show, I think, on the podcast about tipping in 2023 and how, like, now everybody wants a tip. Like, even at the self-service gas station, like, there's a tip. You're like, who am I tipping, myself? I don't understand what's going on right now. Like, you walk into a Starbucks and it's like, it's an automatic thing. And now, don't get me wrong, we all, I think, tip our baristas, or a lot of us do. But some people are like, I'm in here every day. Like, I might give you $10 at the beginning of the week, but you know me, I'm not tip you again. I don't know. It's just crazy. But this is the same thing with credit cards. Now we're turning around, and if you're not paying attention to your bill, the next thing you know, you get home and you look, and there's an extra, you had a $300 meal, and you're paying an additional 3% on top of that to take care of that business's credit card fee. And that, I don't like, that's why. But again, and there's no guidelines to them having to tell you that. I don't think that they have to even disclose that, you know.
I don't know if it's going to come through on the credit card statement. I kind of understood it as
No, on some it actually shows it as an additional, like an additional fee.
Yeah, I don't think the retailers have to say anything about it.
That's crazy. Because, I mean, to your point, I guess some people would just raise
the prices,
the rates, right, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's now a $310 meal. Mm-hmm. If it was $300, if someone raised the prices on their food 3%, no one would notice.
Well, no, it's funny. So there's a restaurant in Miami called Three Chefs, which is kind of like a chicken. They're incredible, and the owners are great. But they actually, there's a paper right when you get up to the register that says the price is XYZ. If you pay cash, if you use a card, it is this price. Mm-hmm. And I love that they let you know that, and it's part of one of, and they explain why. They're like, the cost of goods and services and this, that, and the other thing. And, if you use cash, this is what your price is. And it's like $9.79. And if you use a card, it's like whatever.
$29.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
But they're very honest about it. I don't think a lot of people are. I know I worked at a restaurant one time.
If they're smart restaurant owners, they're saving 30%.
But this was years ago, and they were charging the servers 3% on any tips that were left on a credit card. And I didn't know what that was about. And I was telling my mom, I was like, this is weird. She was like, that's the transaction fee, Kim. And I was like, she's like, that's illegal. They can't charge you for that. And I was like, well, they are. She's like, get your tips in cash. Like, tell these people whatever it was, if it was left on a card. And that's crazy because how many people, that's why now I always ask.
Did you claim all your cash tips on your taxes?
Did I claim my cash tips? I didn't. No, I mean, honestly, I didn't work there very long. I'm a good server, but it's not really my jammy jam.
Yeah, I get it.
It's not really like, I think I dropped ketchup on my shoe one day and I was like, I'm out of here. This is bullshit. I'm just kidding. But
no, I believe that.
I'm a better bartender than I am like a server. But no, that's the beauty of getting cash tips, right? Is that you don't.
The shit that goes on in Washington right now is just like, I mean, we're having a conversation about this on a podcast, and there's so many other relevant things that the American people should be worried about other than this, and they shouldn't even be fucking with this.
But that's what I'm saying, though. Like, but the fact is, there's many American people that have no idea that this is coming up. But again, it's one of those things where it's like, it makes using credit card, like, it makes using them and knowing, especially when you know that you're paying, and you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, there's so much that the American people don't know about their money. It's not even funny. They passed that electronic thing, went into effect in July of this year. So now every transaction that you make, it goes through the government database, and the government can stop the transaction if it decides to, or it can stop all of your transactions if it decides to.
So if you haven't paid your taxes and they want their motherfucking money.
They've always kind of been able to garnish your wages.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Now they can lock your account down. They can lock your account down for any reason they want to.
So you don't have to be. I mean, normally when we heard situations like that before, you were facing federal charges, right? Like normally, if your accounts were frozen, your assets were frozen,
Correct.
you were involved in some sort of case.
They had to go get a warrant and then an indictment and all this shit to lock your shit down.
So they can lock down your bank account or they can lock down your credit cards.
Everything. They can lock down everything, right? Every transaction you make now through your bank goes through the federal government. The federal government goes to their thing, and it's either approved or denied and comes back. Every transaction. They don't want cash anymore. They want to, it really boils down to who controls the money. So if they could control your money and stop you from having money at any given time, they could totally take over a country.
Well, you know what's even scarier than that, though, is the fact that, yes, from a government takeover perspective, very scary. What happens if hackers come in, though, and just obliterate our electronic systems?
Well, I mean, the hackers have always had access to banks.
No. But if cash is the way, like there's a book out, and I want to say it was written by James Patterson. It's so good. The President is Missing, and it's like these very simple, like little things that we take for complete granted. And one of them is like if they were to really shut the grid down and erase everything, like if they were to erase everything, you wouldn't know what's in your 401k. You wouldn't know, you couldn't prove what you have in your bank account. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't go back, whether it's insurance, it's investments, it's whatever the case may be. If there's no paper trail with everything that is online, you are literally out of gas.
Yeah.
There's nothing unless you have what? Gold bars, cash. You have things.
If cash is even still valued at that time. I mean, there's a lot of scary shit. I mean, the electric grid goes down, in this country, which is not a crazy thought. But if the electric grid, because that's all computer run also, that goes down, they say the entire society in the United States will collapse in 3 weeks. 3 weeks. You wouldn't be able to do anything. Mm-hmm. Nothing. Everything's electronic. Everything.
Well, I mean,
couldn't get gas, couldn't get food, couldn't get anything in 3 weeks.
But why do people want to be dependent like that?
It's a dependence that has been bestowed upon us.
This feels very similar, Lenny. This feels very similar to last episode when we were, this bullshit with technology is not always good. It makes us vulnerable.
And part of it is who controls that technology. Technology is always going to make you vulnerable. I mean, listen, 50 years ago, if you blew up a substation, you would take out a grid for whatever. Now, the whole country can be shut off. So, I mean, you saw New York. When was it? New York 8-10 years ago, they had a blackout in New York for like 2 or 3 days.
They were peaceful as fuck, though. 2
or 3 days, but it was,
No, I had people that were there. They were good.
They say 3 weeks, and the whole United States would be in anarchy because everything's going to run out. Mm-hmm. Look at, I mean, you saw it. You saw it when they locked you down at home. People were fucking going nuts over toilet paper and fucking.
That's because Americans are greedy. We're just big, greedy, consumerist nut jobs.
Exactly.
Like. They're fine, though. They still have toilet paper from then. They'll be all right.
3 weeks.
There's somebody that still has toilet paper and paper towels in their garage from 2020. There is some hoarder out there.
We got a case in the warehouse. You can't even use the shit we got. It's like sandpaper, but, it's there for emergencies.
I love it. But again, it goes back to what we were talking about in the last episode. I still think if you hear that story, right? Like I heard from my friend's boyfriend about you should always have cash. It doesn't matter what the government tries to do to me. Like that's now embedded in my brain. So I feel like if people teach that to their children, like, yes, these things are all great and they're handy. But at the end of the day, like, do you watch the show Billions? Have you ever seen this show?
I've heard of it, but I haven't watched it.
So it's really good. But Buddy is a billionaire, hedge fund guy, whatever. In case of emergency, what does he have? You go into his basement, he's got a whole safe, and when he opens up them doors, it ain't nothing but cash and gold bars. Yep. Can get his ass out of the country, can charter a jet, blah, 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 blah. He's got his passports there, and it's like, so the super, the super wealthy, whether you're a super wealthy, you're a survivalist, and everything in between, at the end of the day, when the shit hits the fan, what's tried and true, right? Like, there will always be certain things that will hold their value. And teaching your children, like, yes, game the system, play the point, like, do all those things, but maintain your credit score, right? Like, always have XYZ in cash if you can. And I realize that this is a conversation that sounds like it's coming from a place of privilege, but it's one of those things that no matter where you start, if you have this information, you can teach your children to aspire to this, right? Like, so it's diversify your assets, have a 401k, have investments, have real estate, have art.
Even
I know
if
that's
you're not a privileged person in this country right now, you really should be wary of anything that you feel is free money. Mm-hmm. So if they're giving you a credit card, it's not free money.
Yeah.
It's not. And, Nick still doesn't like to carry cash. And I'm like, what is fucking wrong with you? I'm like, you got to have cash on you.
Well, the other thing that blows my mind, too, is that even with the tapping and the swiping, like, enter your PIN. Have you seen this, too? Like, the enter your PIN, you go to the gas station, and you can skip right past that part.
Yeah, you just...
So I'm just like, but it gives you an option. I'm like, well, then why are you asking me in the first place? We're all lazy. Like, who's going to take the extra 5 seconds to type in their PIN? And I say that because it's like, so are you protecting me, or are you making it easier for, sinister, fraudulent people?
The credit card industry always has been wrought with fraud. I mean, they charge those rates because they get hammered a lot.
Well, and but that's the other reason why I know American Express is one of the more expensive ones, because they're very good when it comes to their customers. Like, at just if you contest a charge, they're like, bet, got it, we're not paying. Like, they take their customer's word.
Yeah, sometimes that keeps the retailer from using American Express more than the 4%.
Well, because well, it makes sense because then they never And if you want to be a dick and be like, I never got it,
American Express stands behind the customer 100%. You buy that Rollie on your American Express and it's junk, you can wear it out for a week, take it back. They're like, oh, we're not taking that broken piece of shit back. You're like, okay. They won't take it back. Click. Done. American Express takes the money back.
But I just think that I'm a fan.
I like American
Me
Express.
too. I also felt like it was an accomplishment when I was finally able to get one. You know what I mean?
They fired me a few times.
But they always come on home.
They always come back around.
Come on home.
Yes, they do.
But I just feel like, and again, no matter where you're at, finding that conversation is so important. And the thing is, you don't need it as much as it would be great if it was taught in school. You don't need it to be taught in school because you can find the information yourself and you can pass that on to your kids. And it really does start at home. And that's actually what's got a lot of Gen Zers.
A lot of kids don't even touch money anymore.
But I told you this, like I have my godson, who's also, he's my cousin. He's late 20s, early 30s. He's such a penny pincher, like next level penny pincher. And always, always anxious about money, always concerned, never thinks he's going to have enough. Saver, like, my man, you're good. Like, and I'm proud of him for being that way, but I don't like the way that it really consumes him. And it's because, he lived through 2008 and he saw his mother struggle with finances and things like that. And that really left a lasting impact. And it left if you ask around, there's a lot of people that are in that age range that saw parents lose everything or who thought their parents were okay and didn't realize that they were living on credit.
Yeah.
And when, daddy or mom lost that $100,000 a year job and had to deal with, what you get in Florida for unemployment, which is like max, no matter what you're making, $200 a week or something crazy like that, it didn't get it done. Houses got foreclosed on, or like you said, people didn't understand balloon payments on loans, and we allowed these predatory, loan companies.
Does your co-host ever have cash on him?
No. I asked him that.
I don't think he probably never really seen cash. Because he gets his check probably deposited in his account and he uses his Apple Pay or whatever else.
No, because I think we had that. I feel like we had that conversation, and I for some reason we were talking
young,
about.
Right?
Yeah, he's 26, just turned 27. And I think I asked him that. I was like, "Do you ever have cash?" And he was like, "No, I don't." Really.
I mean, I've actually met kids who get paid in cash something, and then they go put it in the bank. I'm like, what's wrong with you?
Well, that's the irony of growing up in an immigrant community. Like, that used to be the running joke with, like, the Portuguese in New Bedford. They would walk into a bank and they'd want to buy a 3-family tenement house, right? And they'd come in with literal bags of money, and the bank would be like, we can't, Yeah. And the mom and dad have been working in the factories their whole fucking lives, and they used to stack all their cash in their mattress, in their walls.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, they did not trust that. You just didn't put your money in banks. You didn't trust banks. You had your cash on you, and it'd be like, we can't. It'd be so hard to get them approved, even though they could pay cash right then and there. But it'd be like, the bank people would be like, what the fuck?
We used to have that in Miami.
Yeah, for different reasons, and it was probably a lot more than the Portuguese people was coming in with. But no, I think that having parents or having people in your life that can kind of teach you the value of having some cash. I get that we're in a different place and time now, but having some. And again, I think it was. Can I be honest with you? What happened in the 80s? I don't think it's any surprise that the government has flipped the script and pushed credit on us the way that they have, because you had a lot of folks, be it in Miami or in New York, that capitalized big time off of the drug industry and started buying up very lucrative pieces of property and became players in the game. And they were like, hold on 1 second. What's the common? Cash. Mm-hmm. Cash is nope. We're gonna change the game. We're gonna flip the script. Now it's about credit. Skirt. What? Huh?
Well, back then it was about catching criminals. Now it's about controlling the population.
But it was also about, I think, just skewing the system. Sorry, I think it was about also skewing the system because at that point in time, it was difficult to build credit. It was difficult if you were a woman. It was difficult if you were a minority to walk into banks and just get approved for things. You had to have proof. You had to own a home. You figure most women couldn't even get a bank account until the 70s. They couldn't own homes. They couldn't sign things themselves. So how much credit had they built? When they went into a local store, they signed, the account was in their husband's name or their father's name or their, you know what I mean? Like,
they also didn't have the responsibility to pay it.
What do you mean? Well, I get no. But what I'm saying is when you all of a sudden change the dynamics of the game, it ends up eliminating a lot of people until they can figure out a new way to get in it. So it took people years to figure out, okay, if I hustle over here, now, like, who bought up all of Miami in the 80s? Mm-hmm. I'm sure there were some
nice people.
I'm sure there were some folks that were like, hold up. 1 or 2, okay. 1 or 2 of you that don't look like us, okay. All of it, nope. Something's got to change. Something's got to change. So it doesn't surprise me that we're here. But again, that's the other part of that conversation that people don't want to have. It's it's always there's always been a game of cat and mouse between the haves and that small percentage of people that are pulling the strings and everybody else, and we figure out ways to level the playing field, but then they change the rules again.
Yes.
And so this seems to be the latest kind of iteration of changing the rules.
There's much more to this than you're losing your points. Okay. I guarantee you that. Dig deeper into it. I guarantee it's much more than you're losing your points.
How about you just hit Google on it? Because I'm sure there's a lot of folks, if they're watching this, that this is the first time they've even heard about it. So again, what did I say? It's called the Credit Card something. I'm like, I don't even know. The Credit Card Competition Act. So again, this is supposed to be voted on before the end of the year. You may hear
it's supposed to be beneficial to the consumer. So think about that.
Beneficial to the consumer, and they're snatching our points and a whole lot more. But anyway, that's what we're here for, to put things on your radar. We're not experts. We just like to have the conversations. Again, shout out to everybody on the internet, on TikTok, on Instagram, that's trying to help educate the masses. And I say that like, the people that are teaching folks how to properly use the points. There's tons of individuals out there trying to highlight financial literacy in ways that is, consumable by the average person. And I love that. Like there's reasons why we love the internet.
They don't call it YouTube University for nothing.
Yeah, no, but there's some really, there really is some great stuff out there, whether it's about real estate, investing, lot of people.
Taking a clutch basket out of your motorcycle.
Oh, that too. There's also the whole, the dude who grew up without a dad. Have you seen him on YouTube? He's got millions of followers. And basically it's like, Dad, how do I? And so people submit questions to him. How do I change a light bulb? How do I fix an outlet? How do I change a tire? And he basically is like YouTube's unofficial dad. And people love him, and he's the most wholesome dude ever. But yeah, there's a lot of great stuff on the internet, but I especially love the people that take the time to help kind of open eyes and minds, especially when it comes to this stuff, because it is a game changer. And so many of us are walking through life with the chip stacked against us in the sense of just not understanding, again, the credit situation, interest rates, what that means, the impact it can have, bad decisions at an early age, 18, 19, 20.
I didn't know is not an excuse.
Well, not anymore. You know what I mean? Like, you have to Google. But again, it's important that the people around you are either mentioning it to you, but if you've never heard about it.
Yeah, sounds like free money. I don't know. There's something that was, I think there was ads running on your station that said, get $750 right now.
Probably.
One of those, get cash now, get cash now, get cash now.
So
that $750 is going to cost you about $7,000.
It's so, they have it. There was one, bro, and the fine print is on the television. And when I ever looked, it was literally like 500%. It said it right there. Like the interest rate on this loan is 500%. And I was like, you're going to pay back $50,000 on a $5,000 loan. But you understand, to somebody that's just desperate in that moment and doesn't understand the magnitude of that, or just doesn't give a fuck about their credit, they need it now, they're going to take it. But that's where your government is supposed to protect you. You're worried about taking our points. How about you protect us?
Yeah, good luck. Credit card companies are probably like number 3 or 4 on the...
Oh, God, pharmaceutical.
Yeah, they're probably number 3 or 4 on the donation list.
Well, it's banks.
Yeah, banks.
Banks.
Banks are right
pharmaceuticals.
up there. We're fucked.
Well, we're not fucked if we know and we
we're still
call
fucked.
them and we hold their feet to the flame.
We just know
Shut
we're fucked.
up. Oh, that's not what we're here to do, Len. We're here to inspire people to take control back.
Yeah.
Man the fuck up.
Pull the pipe out of your ass.
Our versions of manning the fuck up are so different. His is pull the pipe out of your ass. Me, it's call your congressman.
It's the same thing.
You know what I'm saying? Know what they're voting on in Washington and what they're voting on in Miramar and Hollywood and in your backyard. Hey, pull the pipe out of your ass. We're going to wrap it up on that note. I'm sorry. I don't really have too much more to add. Please like, subscribe, share, and follow. Drop your comments. Again, if you don't agree with something you see on a clip on social media, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you find us, please watch the episode. But, you can fire off in the comments. A lot of times I respond, Len will respond, somebody from our team. Sometimes you inspire future conversations. So it's always worth it, all right? And we'll see you next time.
Peace.